I have the Blackstone Laboratories oil report for our NSX. It's like the report card for our oil for the car, which is fun. So I got this oil sample from the NSX and it only had 1,400 miles. I know, I should be driving it more. It's just that this year or past year, we had the McLaren, the Mercedes AMG GT and the NSX, and we were just trying to drive them all. So at 1,400 miles and at 1 year, we replaced the oil. I took a sample, I sent it to Blackstone, and this is what they said. They said the oil is good. As a matter of fact, they said that the oil was underused. There was only one negative thing, and we're going to talk about that here in a bit. But I immediately asked them a question that I had about the NSX, and that's if I could have gone further time-wise. And I don't think they understood me because they said that, literally they said, we're not sure what you mean by that, but you could have driven the car another 2,000 miles with no issues at all. And what I was trying to ask them is that with the NSX, you have to replace the oil every year per the service manual, regardless of the mileage. And I was kind of like, oh, that's so annoying because a year goes by pretty quickly. And I don't really like doing the oil change on the NSX, this one, because it's a pain in the butt. So I wanted to see how far I could go past that year, but I wanted to see scientifically if I could have. But it's interesting because we were looking at another car here and the owner's manual said to replace the oil every 6 months. So man, what is going on? Like, I feel like other cars are gonna come out and they're like, you need to replace the oil every month, and then soon it's gonna be every week, and soon every day. So we wanted to get, scientific and find out, hey, what is factually the real numbers? So our oil report showed very little metals, which is awesome, meaning that nothing in our engine was like coming apart, shaving, no metal contact. We had a perfect score for metal, which is awesome. And then when it comes to other things like any dilution, I think I'm saying that right, fuel diluting, it's essentially, let me explain it to you real quick. I'm gonna get a little nerdy. So whenever you have the combustion process, you're always gonna get a little bit of fuel that gets past the piston rings, and that's gonna get down in the oil and it's gonna mix. And the goal is for it not to happen, but depending on the mileage and the wear and everything, it can happen. And these reports tell you how much fuel dilution is in the oil. I really think I'm mispronouncing that. And we had like nothing, which is awesome. So another great mark, which is great. And then when we were looking at everything, we only had one odd thing or a negative thing, and that's the viscosity was a little lower than what it should have. And this one was at a 58.4, where it should have been anywhere from 63 to 75. So the fun thing is that I bought my NSX from Pat with Pat's Online Garage, and he did a Blackstone Laboratories report, and he put about 7,000 miles on his car in 1 year. And it was cool because we were able to compare the two. And his report looked really good. I think his fuel dilution was 1.3, which is still like great, especially how many miles he put. And if you guys are wondering what's bad, anywhere like that 3 is like what's going on, 4 is like this isn't good, and 5 is bad. I had 0, he had 1.3, but he also had the same type of viscosity as I did. So we both think that's interesting, and we're both using Mobil 1 OW40, that Euro spec. So we both found it very interesting that we had the same type of viscosity, and we're thinking that that's probably like a Mobil 1 characteristic. So I decided to do some more research and ask a couple of AI models and the internet and other things, what happens and why does the viscosity become lower? And it says it happens with, heat, high heat engines, like turbocharged engines, running your car hard, and things like that. And the good thing is that, of course, we're at 58.4, meaning that it's still perfectly fine. It's just on the lower end. And essentially the oil was acting more like an OW30 versus an OW40. And I'm assuming that maybe that's the characteristic of Mobil 1, because again, I did not do a track day. Now I do drive pretty spiritedly, so I mean, I don't know, maybe that accumulates to a track day. I live in Grand Junction where it can get very hot here. So definitely the engine saw some temperatures. And I always lift my hatch up because I always say lift the hatch up. And I definitely drive the car, 1,400 miles. I drive the car aggressively and in a hot, dry environment. I would say that Pat, based on what I know about Pat, he drove it aggressively. I know Pat, he's not driving aggressively. Pat has a nice smile, but I know he's got a heavy foot. And so I'm thinking that's just kind of like the characteristic of Mobil 1. Am I going to do anything about it? No, I think it's perfectly fine, especially if everything else looked great. And the risk of having very low viscosity is then you start getting close to metal-metal contact because you need that film. The viscosity is that film that is protecting those metal-metal contacts. And Honda engines are notorious for very tight tolerances. So in a way, a low viscosity oil, like it's got to get through very tight tolerances. And I'm thinking it was, we're still good. Now, another thing that could happen is if you have too much fuel dilution, you definitely could get lower viscosity. But again, we didn't have that. We were at less than 0.5, which is great. And I need to harp on that. I drive this car, as you can tell, I only drive it 1,400 miles. But every time I take this car out, I make sure on purpose that I go and I drive it a minimum of 30 miles. And literally, if I have to go that direction, I'm literally going to do a big circle just to get to that direction. And part of that is I go on this short stint on the highway. And the reason why is because I'm always wanting to make sure that I don't have a lot of diluted oil. And it is a big issue because I've actually done that. Before I started doing that, I actually used to just get in my car and just drive down to the restaurant, which was like, I don't know, the Thai restaurant that I like, which was like maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes from here, and maybe like 5 miles. And then I just turn the car off, eat, and then do the same thing. And I remember when I sold my Porsche GT4, I told the guy like the oil has like less than 1,000 miles, like it's brand new. But when he got the car and he drained the oil, he messaged me, he's like, this oil was shot. And I was like, that's impossible. And then he asked me, he's like, tell me about your driving habits. And I'm like, well, I just do little short drives and stuff like that. And he's like, that's the biggest issue and the biggest thing that destroys oil is short drives. And the reason why is when cars sit and then you turn them on, you get that fuel. You're always going to get a little bit of fuel past those piston rings. And if you just do short drives, you have a little bit of condensation in the fuel tank. You have some, a little bit of condensation in the actual fuel. It's just part of the properties, a little bit of water in there. And then the fuel in the oil, if that starts to accumulate over time, that's a bad thing. What happens is you need to drive the car far, you need to get everything up to temp, and it's gonna burn all that stuff off naturally. So our oil was fine, no metals. The only thing we need to look at was viscosity. When we looked at Pat's report, again, his looked good as well. He did have a tiny bit of fuel dilution, which still under completely normal range, meaning that absolutely perfect for that much mileage, and his metal wear and everything was great. I can't stress how amazing this is. This is like nerd plus. Like, this is so cool because you're knowing exactly what's happening in your engine. You're knowing exactly how your oil is performing. And you're also making sure that if anything is going on, that you're aware of it. You're not assuming. You're not like, yeah, everything's good. And that's why, and I'm not sponsored, like that's why Blackstone Laboratories is like so cool. Like it's literally one of those things I recommend that everyone does because you get an idea of how stuff is working, and this is just amazing. Like I love it. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what kind of reports you've gotten, if you got any reports. And yeah, this was exciting. All right, guys, thanks for watching. You take care. Hit that punch button, and we'll talk to you soon. Hit that like button, and we'll talk to you soon.